Gemo or shimasho, everybody. Gemo or shimasho. Okay, so my Japanese is waning a little bit. I haven't done it for a while. That's do you want to play a game? My name's Chris.
Konnichiwa, motherfuckers. I'm Christy.
This is the Washing Up podcast. It's been good this week. I've been able to bust out my basic high school Japanese, which, you know, I was very proud to say I was topping Japanese until the Japanese teacher left our school and we all had to stop doing language.
That sucks. I did Chinese at school, and we also did cooking, and we also did M&M chopstick races.
Nice work.
And we had to watch The Gods Must Be Crazy, the Chinese version.
By the way, you had to watch The Gods Must Be Crazy. It was enforced. It was in the syllabus, damn it.
Yes, it was.
Well, I'd like to say that my preparation for this week just involved watching Iron Chef.
And pensively turning around to bite into a capsicum.
Yeah, and then look off pleased with my efforts. I mean, what disappoints me greatly about this week so far is that Chairman Kaga is nowhere to be found.
I know. Where the fuck was Chairman Kaga?
I'd rather Chairman Kaga
There was one of the
George.
Iron Chef judges there last night, wasn't there?
There were a couple of people who have appeared on Iron Chef who were in that audience. There were a few of them. I recognised their faces. And, of course, I didn't recognise their accents because they were all overdubbed by Canadians. Except for Chairman Kaga. Australia's version of Iron Chef is one of the only ones in the world where Chairman Kaga was subtitled, not overdubbed.
Oh.
Everyone else was overdubbed, not Chairman Kaga.
Well, who could you possibly get to dub Chairman Kaga?
The more you know. Anyway, back to this show.
Yes.
Because last night we had a really, an intriguing challenge. I thought that the idea of you know, having them all do the line was interesting.
Yes.
There was a point brought up by a couple of people on Twitter. I think Amanda on Twitter brought it up, for example, that when you're doing a degustation, the dishes are supposed to flow into each other.
Yes.
Now, given you haven't told anybody what the other one's doing, how exactly is the degustation supposed to flow?
They should have just done a sushi train. Just...
Or just have them working in a sushi train, not a Michelin-star restaurant?
All of them had their own little coloured plate, and they served it up on the plate, and it just went around.
And that was whoever made the most money off their coloured plate. Exactly. Whoever sold the most of the $6.99 sushi wins. So we had, again, they did the degustation last night. Now, everybody got good feedback right up. Well, basically, again, it's going to sound like we're being mean, but I mean, Eloise's didn't quite go to plan, and that wasn't very good.
But she gave it a red hot go. She was actually
she went blank on mackerel, and again, as I said, my only recollection of mackerel came from Gus Mercurio's Gone Fishing. You know, and there's an episode where Gus Mercurio caught a mackerel. And he catches it, and in that sort of American-Australian accent, goes, "Holy mackerel, will you look at that mackerel?" And then they did the rest of the trip. And at the end of every Gone Fishing video, and yeah, we have them because Dad's a keen fisherman, at the end of every Gone Fishing video, he then went into the kitchen and cooked something from the trip. And he cooked the mackerel, but he was so impressed with his holy mackerel, would you look at that mackerel, he got them to replay the clip 3 times while he was cooking the mackerel.
Fucking up so much in the kitchen. They had no choice.
This hasn't haunted me, by the way. It's not like this has haunted me so much that now, a good 20-odd years later, actually longer than that from when I saw it, I'm now remembering this holy mackerel, will you look at that mackerel? And it's my only link that I have to the fish mackerel.
It doesn't haunt you like Expo 88? Celebrate good times. Come on.
We'll have to get into that story with everyone a bit later. When they do bananas and pineapples and we do things that are more tropical again.
But Mum and Dad, why couldn't we go to the Queensland Pavilion?
It's okay.
We got to the Sri Lankan Pavilion. You know why? There were no fucking lines.
You know what there would have been, though, at the Sri Lankan Pavilion?
What?
Tea. So, look at me segueing back in, except we've got to talk about Callan.
Yes.
So Callan, for a start, thankfully didn't make a granita. So, well done, Callan.
He made an ice cream.
I'm getting sick of ice cream too. Now, poor Ben.
Matcha ice cream.
Well, we'll come back to matcha in a minute. First of all, poor Ben. You go over there, he does the cook of his life on the first day. Mm-hmm. And his reward is that he doesn't have to cook again.
In the Michelin star restaurant.
So everyone's cooking in a Michelin star restaurant and getting to work in this environment, and everyone's getting to cook. And Ben's reward is you don't have to be in the kitchen.
Yeah, you can fuck off for the day.
Go do whatever you want.
Like gym bar.
That was that was weird. I don't know if that's a reward. Everyone else got really good rave reviews. Everyone seemed to do very well out of it. Callan, again, they came back with his issue being flavour.
Yeah.
And this leads me nicely into my number one complaint about this week, and indeed about cooking shows in general. Matcha.
Okay, just let it rip.
All right,
Kevin.
I made a comment tonight on Twitter. I am 100% behind this, by the way, and I mean every word of it. From this point until the end of the series, anybody who cooks with matcha will not have their dish discussed by me. You can do it.
But you're not going to touch it.
I am not. I don't care if the grand finale, if the final challenge is a matcha cake.
If they bring out Chairman Karga.
If the last challenge is matcha cake, I'm just going to sit back.
Marching away.
I'm going to talk about everything else. I'll talk about the weather. I'll talk about George's bald head. I'll talk about how many times Matt looked like he was 5 pims to the wind. I'll talk about Gary and his nonsensical messages of motivation. I'll talk about the applauding on the gantry, but I will not ever discuss matcha.
Fair enough.
I am over matcha. And I need a break because I'm pretty sure that by the time we see, shows that may involve more baking, like, for example, I don't know, the Great Australian Bake Off.
There shall be matcha.
There's always a chance you're going to see matcha. So I'm going to need a rest from matcha. And this week, unfortunately, too much of it.
For someone who doesn't want to talk about matcha.
Shut up.
You've spoken a lot about matcha right there, Buchanan.
It's a warning to the world. It is a warning to the world. It's a warning to the future. Consider me the T2000.
That could be a new blend at T2.
I am the Terminator T. I have come to save the world. Sarah Connor, put down the cup.
Brew with me if you want to live.
Whoa! So anyway, last night it was all about whoever produced the best dishes got to go through with Ben to tonight. Carly and Sarah were... I was 100% on board with Sarah's, not just because I'm a big Sarah fan, but, especially for somebody who, does a lot of broadcasting of Bake Off, sweets, I'm more a savoury person. Mm-hmm. So I like the idea of a dessert that was more savoury than sweet.
Yes.
So I thought the black, and I love black sesame seeds. I love black sesame.
And it was brilliant. It was so beautifully done. And I think for the end of a degustation, you want something that is not too ultra sweet. You want something refreshing that cleanses the palate.
Yeah, it's a palate cleanser. And, it's not like Brazilian barbecue where you've got cinnamon pineapple. Which is the ultimate palate cleanser in my book. But this probably would have been a much better and much higher rent option. You're not going to turn around in a Michelin star kitchen and go, "What are you doing now?" Cinnamon pineapple.
I'm just poking the pineapple into a big ass motherfucking metal stick. I was going to go around and shave it off for people.
I was going to douse it in cinnamon and then walk around slicing it off for people. That's all I'm going to do. And how are we going to present this? Oh no, they're going to hold a plate out.
Get their little tongs.
But seriously, they'll have tongs, and they'll have a little green and red thing, and they can flip over and they want it or not.
They finish, yeah.
But is that a good presentation? Have you fucking tasted it? Have you fucking tasted it?
Doesn't matter. You know what you'd probably want after that? Not just the presentation. You'd probably want the whole fucking stick. You just go
basically that's
down.
That's what I do at Brazilian barbecue. I chase the guy with the pineapple. I wish I was joking about that, by the way. I'm not joking.
I wish he was too.
Yeah, so does everybody. So tonight's challenge then became Ben, Sarah, and Carly all challenging.
Yes, and Eileen, because Tamara's like, "Come on, Ben. Come on, Carly. Come on, Sarah. Come on, Eileen." Oh, I just got carried away.
Come on, Eileen.
She was quite positioned, I think, near the boom.
She was, and they've done that a few times, and we'll talk about another one of those in a minute, where they position somebody far too close to the microphone. That was a little bit of a problem as well. Now, as we mentioned, we mentioned that we went into this challenge tonight with three who I've predicted them as my three for the grand final. They're the three that I've said from about halfway through week one, that I think there's those three.
Yeah.
So Eloise is my dark horse for the grand final.
Yeah, I think she could do a Liesl where she may be in it or she might hit
Right on that cusp.
Yeah.
But I think that Carly, Sarah and Ben are probably your final three. And again, Eloise is the one who I can sort of flip either way on. And again, I actually think that if she makes it in, I think it's Carly that doesn't, which may seem controversial to some people out there because Carly's nailing it, but you also get the feeling that there is a disaster cook somewhere hiding there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That she's doing so well and so perfectly consistently that at some point you're just going to have that down moment.
Yeah, well, tonight, we'll get to her cook tonight, but the praise back to her was like, there's people who've reached the pinnacle in their cooking. So
yeah, it was interesting. So tonight,
or was that Sarah they were talking about?
No, they talked about her. About her
yeah.
and everything built up to this moment.
Yeah.
And we don't often get this. This is your moment, which almost worries me if I'm her because I'm thinking, I can't do any better.
And I just lost the pin.
Yeah, I didn't win. Although remember what they did to Sarah last time she was up for a pin. So tonight we began the challenge for immunity with what I referred to as Channel 10's low-rent reservoir dogs. They had the three of them, and they made the three of them walk the long walk down the path to the tea plantation. I'm assuming everyone else got a bus. No. The three of them had to walk, which, let's face it, it looked really bloody cold.
No, yeah, I reckon they all got golf carts down there, then they forced those three to walk up the path and walk back down again. And knowing TV, probably a couple of times.
did several loops. They actually had to run around the tea plantation for a little bit.
Yeah.
So my only complaint about this introduction, needed more Vespa. Where was the Vespa? Surely you can get a Vespa in Japan.
Yeah, or at least a Pokemon to ride down.
Yeah, not one Pokemon reference yet. I'm so disappointed in them.
I'm sure, who's in the background? Like, if I was waiting, if I was Ben.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon going just around Japan while they're waiting there. He's watching the filming. It's Pokemon going.
They're doing the really serious judging at the end there. It's like, and what we need to do, and someone yells, guys, far-fetched!
Yeah, you've got them divided into, between the red, blue and yellow teams.
Got Valor and Mystic of battling it out, and Instinct, well, there's one poor person from Instinct in the corner.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was very apparent how damn cold it was. They were in thermals.
They were, and I'm just looking at going, this is so sad. I just felt for them. It just looks so cold. The air looks so crisp. George had a scarf that wasn't wrapped tightly enough around his neck.
I mean, I sort of think that might have actually encouraged Gaston to do an ice cream again because he just thought he didn't need a blast chiller to set it.
No.
I mean, that's probably his biggest downfall was that he used the blast chiller. He could have just left it on the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like it was cold enough. So they finally decided to give you 3 Japanese ingredients that were sort of a little bit... only a little bit different. Yeah. They weren't vastly different. Yeah. But they weren't the other night of ginger and soy and wasabi.
Look, they were obviously distinctly Japanese, and they weren't...
They were obviously looking for things that Cole sells.
Fuji apples.
Well, funny you should mention that because there was another decoupage and uzu. Okay, so you have yuzu, we have Fuji apples, and we have
dodecahedrons.
Okay, so we have yuzu, we have Fuji apples, and
sushi fruit,
and we have decapon. All right, I'm not going to call it the other name. It's fucking decapon. All right, so. They each picked one, and they're like, oh, wasn't that lucky? And, yeah, lucky. Carly decided to do a Japanese apple pie, which was an interesting call. It was sort of, I probably would have done it.
And according to Google Translate, it's apple pie.
Yeah, well, again, it's the L. There's no L.
I know.
So
which is why I said apple pie, not apulu pie. That would have been Hawaiian.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who, when I was in high school, and we were doing Japanese, and he had lots of L's in his name, and it would
suck if you're Welsh and your name's like Llewellyn.
It was so Mino Reiki. It really was because he wasn't being insulting. There are literally, I think it was 7 L's in his first and last names combined, and so they were all R's. It just doesn't work. I mean, develop the letter L, please. We beg you. No one wants to be racist. Develop the letter L, please. All you have to do. You developed modern technology really rapidly. The letter L's not that hard. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, Pauline. Just settle down there.
Here's another thing I don't like about...
What's next? Are you going to talk about autistic kids in the classroom?
No, because you know my views on that. I'm very anti-Pauline. One thing I will mention before we get into this is I'm really happy, by the way, that we haven't strayed completely down the sushi train. I know that sounds really, obvious, but I'm pleased we haven't.
Well, I think there's too much of an art form, and I think it would.
I think they probably will. I'm sensing an elimination challenge.
Possibly, but the thing is, right?
Do you want to go out and not cooking a dish? What's wrong? You cooked it.
Well, tomorrow night looks like more yakitori and street food and stuff, which is cool. But there wasn't enough fans. Like, there's Gaston trying to blow on it. It's like, one, that's a hygienic. And two, you need a big bloody fan to wave out. That's why they have the fans, to fan themselves and fan out the flames.
Fan out the flames, yes. So I think it's kind of good they haven't done that. I'm pleased with that. So Carly decided to try a soy milk ice cream, which to me just sounds more like sadness. And then
you're making frozen bean paste.
And then she was surprised it didn't set.
It's frozen bean paste.
Exactly. So now Gaston...
he tried to take inspiration from his surroundings, and instead of making it artistic, he went diorama.
Yeah, he did. It was very Telltale Heart.
It was just mixing a few action figures like George, Gary, and Matt in the corner.
Gary, it was funny because Gaston turns around to Gary and goes, basically says to them, not in these words, but basically says, I'm going to do exactly what you wanted me to do in Heston Week. And Gary's reply was the equivalent of, well, he's fucked off back to England. We just want normal shit, dude.
He's like, no, normal. I want a diorama.
I want to diorama this. And
I've got the Star Wars action figures. That's what you should have done.
I bet my Wookiee. But I think what we learned tonight, no one's fit as Gaston, no one's big as Gaston, no one's ice cream's incredibly thick like Gaston's. Because it just set a little bit more like concrete than like ice cream.
It's fine, it lasts longer.
It does. He should have sold it. I wanted it to be like, he needed to valet it. He needed to valet. That's how my family likes it. His ice cream.
We like Gobstopper ice cream. I have several children. I need to keep them quiet of a night time. This is how I do it. This is how I do it.
This is how I do it. Sorry. Anyway, Ben's ice cream ended up looking a little bit more like Alcatraz than Mount Fuji. It was The Rock.
It did have a look of like, when you watch a bad sci-fi show and they bring out like the device that's going to do something that just lights up as people wave their hands over it.
Yeah, it's the bumps on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Now, again...
Like I was waiting for, the Stargate 1 team to come out and go, oh, I haven't seen technology like this since I was on...
Beta 7.
Beta 7.
So, Ben's ice cream, and apparently Ben's dish tasted really good. It just... The look didn't quite work, and the ice cream was a bit too solid for it. Now, Sarah, again, was just being inventive. I like Sarah because of the fact that she's so damn inventive.
I'm going to put capers in uzu.
Yeah, she's like, capers in uzu. I don't know if it's going to work. I think it might. And then she tastes them, and she's like, that's the stuff.
Yeah.
And the other thing I love about Sarah is she's genuinely excited. That's not put on bullshit.
No.
She's genuinely excited.
She is an actual food nerd.
Yeah. Yeah.
She should make a vanity project and like review a show, like something like, I don't know, what's that one that features chefs each week?
And they're at a table?
And they're at a table.
So you mean the Food Nerd Vanity Project, as done by myself and the wonderful Fee Newen. Are you suggesting that Fee Newen should lose her spot because Sarah is so much better? Is that what you just said?
Are you suggesting that there's only room for one person of a certain gender and race in the Food Nerd Vanity Project?
This is why we're trying to take out Poe.
No.
Because we want Fee to rise above.
No, we need to break down the culture that reinforces this idea that there can only be one.
I would, but Kylie Kwong is telling us to stay off the east side.
Look, because of because of people like Chrissy from fucking Big Brother, women like me can't make it in showbiz because they're like, we've already got one fat old woman. We can't have many more.
Again, Kylie Kwong is telling us to stay off the east side.
Yes.
Right? It's not our fault. We're trying to break through those barriers. And hey, Fee, if you're listening, I know you're not. But linking back into Food Nerd Vanity Project for a minute, because one of the things that I've been disappointed in, I said, first of all, no Chairman Karga.
No.
Secondly,
no piles of ingredients unwrapped by satin sheets.
Revealed rather dramatically as they rise into the studio.
As dramatic as Matt eats chicken, apparently.
We'll come back to that in a moment. And more importantly, there's no even Orkin. Now, you've got white people, or mostly white people. Sarah, obviously is the only person who's not whiter than white on this show at this point in time.
Diana's not.
Oh, Diana as well, my bad.
See, you're just perpetuating the culture.
Thank you. And
diversity.
We're missing, yes.
Without tokenism.
Because our three judges are very diverse. There's a Greek in there, And he's one of those minorities. Anyway.
Well, you saw Heston, white-splaining his culture.
He was white-splaining his culture, he was too. So, as I was saying, no even Orkin. I wanted to see these people have to deal with, a foreign chef who's worked in Japan and had to cook Japanese food for Japanese people and had to survive on it. Mm-hmm. Not this case of we come in, we make a few dishes, we go, oh, isn't that pretty, and we leave.
Yeah.
He set up a ramen store in the middle of Japan, making ramen for locals, and survived. And he had to thrive on this because if he didn't, he'd be broke. So he had to make this work, and he does. I recommend you go and watch the episode of Chef's Table. If you've been watching MasterChef and you're watching Japan Week, go and watch the episode of Chef's Table on Netflix with Ivan Orkin. Then go back into the archives and listen to the Food Nerd Vanity Project, where Fee and I talk about Ivan Orkin because he's a magnificent gentleman and his food is incredible, and it will give you a bit more of an understanding about Japan and how to cook Japanese. Back to this.
Yes.
So we get down to the countdown.
10, 9,
8, 7. So I'm just doing what Tamara did. Poor Tamara tonight. I mean, look.
She was just positioned badly.
Tamara.
For being a short person, she gets the raw end of the stick a lot because she's always thrown at the front.
I mentioned it the other day. There are some people online who have a unusual amount of issue with Tamara for no real reason. It's not her fault. I don't think it should be directed in her way at all. But then they don't help her tonight by putting her right next to the microphone when they're doing the countdown, and she was louder than the judges.
And and I was trying to help get her something redeeming, and I've gone to my niece to talk to her about because I was there today and we're doing science projects, and then we were having a break. I took her through because she likes MasterChef, taking her through the contestants, and I said, "Oh, do you think Ben looks like Gaston?" And she's gone, "Get that weird guy off the screen," and swiped.
Sorry, Ben.
Sorry, Ben. And then, I said, "Oh, who do you think will win?" And she was pointing at Carly. And I said, "Why her?" She goes, "Because her name's Carly." I'm like, "Okay, but what about her cooking?" She goes, "Sarah's cooking's good." And I'm like, "That makes no sense."
So in other words, she was George.
Yeah. And then I've gone to her,
yeah?
"What about Tamara?" And Taylor's looking at her. I've gone, "Look, what do you think of her earrings?" And she's like, "They're just weird."
Sorry, Tamara.
Taylor
has spoken.
She's got no taste, unlike her auntie.
Anyway, Gaston...
With her fluffy earrings tonight.
Yes, they were very fluffy. I don't think Kira on Twitter approved, unfortunately. She seemed to think they fell into the no category. I think it was a no from her.
I think it was a tribute to Tribbles.
Probably.
She's a massive
so
Star Trek nerd. Okay, back at the ranch. I'm going on too many.
So Gaston...
Yeah.
Now, when Matt went to sample...
Have we not even gone past the first?
No.
Oh.
When Matt went to sample Gaston's dish, he made it sound like he'd lost bowel control. And then he followed it up with, "It's better than I expected." That's not what you want to hear. They said the flavour was outstanding, but the ice cream was a bit hard.
And Gaston's like, "Yeah, like my guns, bitches."
I can sum up Sarah's tasting quite simply of yuzu. "We're worried," which they didn't wait. They waited until she served it to them in the judging before they went, "We're worried about the fact you put yuzu in everything." as opposed to normally where they go around and go, should you really be doing that? Is that what you should be doing? Tonight they waited for Sarah and then went, we're a bit worried about the amount of ooze you got and everything. She's like, well, I balanced it. Then they tasted it. Then Matt goes, no, we're wrong. That's good.
Yes.
So Sarah blitzed it. And then Carly, and I think I wrote down for Carly, she okay.
She just didn't do a diorama. That's what it came down to.
Now, dear Gaston.
Yes.
We need to have a Tiger Mother chat. We do this from time to time here on The Washing Up. Again, ask Fee Newen what happens when we do it
Do you
this
want some
time.
motivational music?
Go for it.
Dink, 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 dink. Dink, dink, dink. Dink, dink, dink. Dink, dink, dink.
No more ice cream!
Dink, 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 dink. Dun, dun, dun.
No more ice cream! Do not keep up with this ice cream charade any longer,
You're
Gaston.
not Mr. Whippy.
Is your food dream to own a Mr. Whippy van?
Did you appear in Frozen? No. You were Beauty and the Beast. No more ice cream.
If you are pondering a career as a Mr. Whippy van driver, may I direct you to the great, wonderful comedy of the Late Show troupe in the early 1990s and their beautiful sketch, the Mr. Whippy Grand Prix. Look on YouTube. Go and look at it. It shows you the dangers of Mr. Whippy van driving and the dangers of Mr. Whippy ice cream. Now, I didn't bother to tell Chrissy I was doing this, and she's literally just lost the plot. So, deep breaths, it's all good. So,
No, can I tell you
please do.
what my mum said to us when we were kids so we wouldn't ask for ice cream?
Okay, so this should be good. Knowing your mother, this could be good. So, breathe.
So, imagine, I'm like 8, my sister's like 6, and my mum's turned around to us and said, no, you don't want ice cream from Mr. Whippy because he's probably gone to the toilet and not had anywhere to wash his hands. He's touched his penis and he hasn't been able to wash his hands. So essentially she's telling us we'd get dick-flavoured ice cream and that's why we couldn't have Mr. Whippy. And I'm like, just at least do what other parents do, which said when the music's on, they're out of ice cream.
Okay, so as I've said to you a number of times,
Yes.
the more we record, the more I learn.
Why do you think I'm a fiend for a hedgehog whenever we come across a Mr. Whippy van? I'm having my dick ice cream and I'm going to eat it.
Suddenly you yelling that out when we're doing Christmas light tours makes a lot of sense. So we've got what I referred to as now Tea for the Pin. The less successful follow-up album from Cat Stevens after Tea for the Tillerman.
It was like, there I was. Didn't think he'd do Moon River and bam!
Second encore.
Moon River. It was like that with a tea. I was tweeting, like going, this is going to be a tea challenge because they're in a tea field and there was no tea in the first one. I'm like, well, this sucks. Even the MasterChef account said they were teasing us. And then, bam, tea comes along.
And just as the tea comes out, Kamal, out from Dilma tea. And then everyone goes, this isn't Salon.
Do try it.
Yeah, do try it. And then everyone goes, this isn't Salon. And Kamal goes, back into the tea plantation. Much like Homer disappearing back through the hedge with Ned Flanders. Kamal just disappears back into a tea plantation. I believe if you yell out "do try it" 3 times very loudly around a tea plantation, Kamal appears. So Carly decided to go with poached chicken in green tea.
Essentially, she made
Now this was
chicken tea.
Now this was the comment I have to quote here. So at Kev's_view, the thoughts of Kev, came up with for me the tweet of the night because she said she was making a tea broth. Now Kev points out that isn't a tea broth basically just a cup of tea?
Yeah, I mean, usually I put milk and sugar in mine.
Yeah, it's not really I don't. So therefore,
next time I'm going to ask, can I have a breast of chicken in that?
So basically, the tea that I make whenever I make myself tea, because I don't have sugar or milk, I'm not making tea anymore.
No,
I'm making a tea broth. Wonderful. It's handy to know. Thanks, Kev, for that.
I like our Russian Caravan tea broth.
Exactly. I only drink Russian Caravan because it tastes more like coffee. Anyway, and Sarah went with pork belly. Now,
Winner chicken dinner.
Again,
winner pork belly dinner.
Pork belly dinner, because the chicken dinner was the other one. Now, there wasn't a hell of a lot to talk about during this, and the main reason was they both just did it really well.
Yeah.
The big thing is Carly's chicken cooked? And then Carly opened it up and went, yep,
it's cooked.
No, it's cooked.
And was the pressure cooker going to be like unpressured in time?
Now I was trying to do some research on this.
He was getting all sciencey.
I got all sciencey. Now I couldn't prove my theory, unfortunately, because I don't know what altitude they were at. I was looking at local. This is again I'm a history, geography background person. I do teach geography, so I'm used to looking at these maps for altitude and topographic maps. I was trying to look at topographic maps of the region to work out what altitude they were at while they were cooking, because I was trying to work out if that was impacting the length of time it took to depressurize. The answer I can work out is possibly, probably, but I can't prove it 100%. And it actually takes longer to cook the higher the altitude you're up in a pressure cooker.
I'm going to talk to my friend who's a science nerd. I shouldn't say that. She's like awesome. We call her Lisa the space lady. And because she's like on that kind of think tank about Mars and that kind of thing. She's currently, I think, floating around Queensland.
Has she come to the conclusion that Mars is a planet?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I think she's, floating around Queensland at the moment on the Questacon truck.
In a most peculiar way?
Yeah, in the most, she's ground control to space lady Lisa. Anyway, I might ask her, because then wouldn't you think that if the outside pressure is the same, you know what I mean, like it adjusts? Like It's just a container that's adjusting. It's not like it's bringing its own pressure from down below.
Yeah, but it's trying to adjust back out to what the external pressure is. So if the pressure is heavier versus if the pressure is less, then it's going to take longer to readjust. That's my thinking.
So she should have done it in a, what's it called, a barbell tank. You know the one I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, and no, that would have taken too much time.
Bariatric, no.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this, but the problem is that
I've been in one.
By the time you set the thing up, it cooks over. So you don't have the time to do that.
Do you know what you can't take into one of them? Little heaters. Because it'll blow everything up with all the oxygen in there. I learnt that when I was doing a placement.
And you went in and blew everything up?
No, they were talking about what happened, unfortunately, in Russia one time.
It always happens in Russia. Dash cams ahoy. Anyway, so Carly presents her tea poached chicken with charred veg and tea broth.
She goes, would you like sugar in that? How many lumps? One or two?
And what I really enjoyed is that they're not overstating their judgment this year. They've been very down to earth and rational with this.
Thank fuck.
Now, by saying this, 5 pims to the wind, Preston samples her chicken with a flourish. There is an artistic flourish at the end of what he did. It was like he was fucking Bob Ross for a minute. And then he basically tells her that she is the greatest chef alive. So as I said, measured
and down to earth.
And the general gist of everything they said, George at one point goes, everything is connected. So apparently we're now in the Matrix.
No, do you think he's been exploring Zen philosophy a bit too much now? He's in shrine? Spending a bit too much time in the Shinto shrine?
He's up there where they've got the vow of silence. You got a vow of silence, yeah? Yeah? Not talking, yeah? Not talking, yeah? Yeah? Good? I'm being silent, yeah? Yeah? And so basically, the general gist of the feedback from the judges to Sarah is, well, you can bring it up if you want, but why really bother? I mean, look, this is the greatest dish we've ever tasted. Then Sarah presents her tea braised pork belly with mushrooms and daikon and bean curd.
Yeah.
And more importantly, and I was explaining the other week, I was having a discussion where I mentioned to Eloise that her problem was that in an immunity challenge, she tried to drag out the family connection. And you only drag the family connection out in an elimination.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in an immunity. It works in an elimination.
However,
there are firsts for everything. And Sarah's use of the family link tonight was brilliant. Because Gary spoke first. And Gary talked for so long that Matt and George, if you look in the background of that shot, if you go back and rewatch, Gary is talking in all this flowery language about what a wonderful dish and what a beautiful balance and
he breaks into a song, I see skies of blue.
Basically. And Gary
before me.
Gary is doing this wonderful, discussion. And meanwhile, look in the background. Matt and George are just eating the rest of the dish. So Gary's getting nothing extra. And finally, for the first time in living memory, a story in an immunity challenge pays off.
Yeah.
Sarah gets it on the grounds of, you're both brilliant. Sarah's has more emotion.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen now? Every time someone comes up to serve a dish, I need to tell you about the time.
Yeah, but they're going to run out of relatives.
Yeah, but then they can go on to, the neighbour that was like an aunt to them.
Neighbours don't have the same connection.
They do if, you're
Neighbours
living...
don't become good friends.
If you're a latchkey kid living in the burbs and, your parents don't really give a shit.
I'd like to think that before you go on MasterChef, you have to give them a list of 5 relatives you can use in stories.
I'd be fucked. I remember learning that
you only need to use your mother.
Yeah, but...
The stories you'd have.
Yeah, but they'd be anti-cooking stories.
The sympathy judging.
She blew up a chicken. I had to learn to cook my own roast.
You know, this chicken that I'm cooking here today, this wonderful chicken, you know what my mother used to do? Explode this.
She was like Heston Blumenthal before. She was like
she believed
Massimo.
She believed that the best way to eat your chicken was to find it all over the house in different rooms.
Yes, to have strings of it just dangling from the rack in the oven.
Basically what she wanted was the whole immersive experience of the chicken.
Yes.
And she wanted you to smell it for weeks on end in different rooms, just finding pieces wherever you could.
She felt that cooking duck for the first time is fine when served bleeding.
That story would win you automatically everything. They just feel so sorry for you.
The fact you're pity vote.
If you're going to win, you do. Think about it.
$250,000 for telling all the stories I tell anyway on a podcast I do for free.
Anyway, so tomorrow night, and we appreciate all of your listens. So anyway, tomorrow night we've got the Let's Cook in the Small Japanese Kitchen. Which will be fun. It should be interesting.
Will Ben actually fit in there?
I don't know if Ben will fit in. I did see at one point that I think Aaron was walking around outside. I assume that Ben just has to stand outside waving to the people as they go, there is Godzilla. And
me no Reiki that.
Me no Reiki that either. And so that, and then obviously that will lead into elimination. And funnily enough, elimination will match up with their last day in Japan, so they don't have to worry about sending someone home halfway through.
It's going to be hilarious, right? So they do the elimination, they all hug and say goodbye. And
then get on the plane together?
Get on the plane together. I wonder if they have to sit at the back and pretend not to know anyone. they get thrown down near the toilets in the cramped overhead.
They're in the overhead compartment. They're stored in the overhead locker. That's your punishment for having to go home from Japan as a loser. If you go home from Japan as a loser, you're in the overhead storage. Anyway, that wraps up another episode of the Washing Up podcast. Now, we did promise the other day that Raywatch would be happening. It is happening. Trust us on this. It is coming.
Yes.
All right. We've now got to the point where we have some time in the schedule to be able to knock that over.
Yeah. Someone's on school holidays.
Yeah. The other day,
someone's still unemployed.
To give you an idea, the other day I did 4 podcasts in a day. So this thing is going quite well. So I've now got the time to be able to do the Raywatch podcast. You've got the time to do Raywatch. And so Raywatch will be coming. Don't panic. There's a big song and dance and hullabaloo coming with it.
Yeah, but do you think we've actually missed the peak Raywatch?
I don't think you can ever miss peak Raywatch.
Okay.
And with that, my name's Chris.
Konnichiwa. Oh no, it's arigato. Mushi mushi. Sayonara! Sayonara, bitches!
It's actually konbanwa because it's an evening, but anyway. Sayonara from the Washing Up Podcast. Gesundheit. Farewell.